welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. We start with the Patriots, and it's just Mac Jones, 24/7. We thought the hype would be big, but this is crazy. Patriots are now the AFC East division leaders. The fact is, boys, that the Patriots right now are playing the best football in all of the NFL. Who could have predicted it?
Yeah, the answer to that would be nobody. I don't think any of us did. That's for sure, right? I didn't see this coming.
Well, I think maybe we did. We did. It was a couple of us. I think you and I, Russ, were optimistic on the 11-6.
Yeah.
Which is probably if the best
Oh,
case
where they would.
they end up 11-6.
Yeah.
Split the next four and take those last two.
Yeah.
Well, I think his bigger thing is anything is that Buffalo is not playing as good as we thought they were.
Yeah,
they've taken a drop down when this happens.
Yeah. So look, even if we correctly predicted their final record, Joe, I don't think any of us predicted a 70-0 run over the course of 3 games. I mean, they've literally outscored the opposition 70-0 over the last essentially 3 games.
Yeah, it has been against pretty poor.
Well, no, but hey, hang on a second. So
NFL teams.
Cleveland's a good football team. It has been good. They're not great, but they've been good. And along the way, we
got hurt early too. Remember?
Right, but we beat the Chargers. We beat good teams. Right.
It's NFL parity, boys. I mean, everybody's 6-5, 5-6, and that's who they faced. Even Atlanta had 4 wins. Play your schedule. Like Russ said, it's the way we're winning these games.
It's the way we're winning. I didn't see our defense being this good. No way.
Look, we have the best differential in all.
About 5 miles to Bay Road.
Hey, Timmy, we're picking up your directions.
Sorry.
That's all right. Look, I thought the defense was going to be a top 5 defense, but we know what Bill Belichick defense is. They get better as it goes along. Right now, the Patriots defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. Would you agree?
What do you think, Joe?
Right now, I would say the only weak link right now, it looks like, is the secondary. The corners are very thin, very thin. We can't afford any kind of problem.
Well, Joe, presently constituted and healthy, they're doing pretty good, though.
Oh, yeah, granted.
Yeah, the weakness
But
is
they're an injury away from, disaster, though.
Look, we can break down the defense very simple. You have Barmore and Judon. Those 2 guys right now have to be double teamed. You have Phillips and Duger. These are 2 of the best safeties who get to play now the safety position the way they should, as opposed to last year where they were playing inside linebackers. You have J.C. Jackson, who's been a stud. What this allows, guys, is Kyle Van Noy and Hightower and Bentley to basically not be blocked a lot. And they get to freelance, and all of a sudden now they're starting to stand out.
Yeah, I think that, what's... Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tim.
Russ.
They every year we say it's
Playing out of his mind.
We can't hear you, Timmy. Hold on. Go ahead, Russ.
So every year we say, they'll round into shape. It's going to take them a few weeks to round into shape. And it's really hard to remind yourself of that when you're 2-4 and you're just playing like crap, right? But it is the pattern with this team. It's been very rare exceptions where they don't play better in November than they did in September and October. And, he's done it once again. It clearly was going to take Hightower and Van Noy some time to get up to speed. And it was clearly going to take Barmore some time to get onto the field. But, it's definitely happening again. It's amazing.
Yeah, 2019, Joe, they did not, that, like Russ said, that was really the only season that we can remember that they did not get better. They went 8-0, and then all of a sudden they completely fell apart. But that's the MO of the Patriots in the Bill Belichick defense. They're going to get better.
Yeah, to improve. Now, last year, the linebacking was awful. And Bentley was called upon to be in coverage, which he can't do. He's a run guy. He's a run stuffer. We lost Benoit. We lost Jamie Collins. Hightower was out with COVID on the COVID explosion. And we lost Landon Roberts. We got all those guys back except for Scotty's favorite, Landon Roberts.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They got him back. And look, the only missing piece right now, if Bill Belichick knew they were going to be 7-4, do you think he would ever have gotten rid of Gilmore?
That's a great question, Scott. I don't know. I still don't know what went into that decision, other than they just probably thought the risk was too high, that he was going to be unhealthy, that they'd have to cut somebody else in order to keep him, to give him more money. And I don't know. It's a great mystery. And if we get the one injury that that Joe cautioned us on, we may regret that trade more than ever.
Although Joe Ward Williams has looked a little better in the last couple of weeks, I gotta say. So maybe they're not that thin, but Gilmore probably wouldn't have played. If they kept him, they probably would have got nothing out of him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he just would have been free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Timmy, you have can we hear you now, Tim?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Well, this is one of the most balanced defenses I've seen. That couple of years ago when they were 8-0, 9-0, we all knew that was a mirage. We had played a bunch of weak quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks and things like that. The offense we saw was doing nothing even against weak defense. This is a super balanced team. I mean, the running backs, we're not killing it with the wide receivers, but they're adequately performing. Henry has started to come on. The other free agent tight end is showing a little bit more than it was showing before. And, I mean, the addition of Barmore on the defensive line has just been huge. And, of course, Judon. I mean, they might be two of the best defensive players we've had in the last 5 years. Both of them.
Sure. And offensively, the offensive line, which we thought was going to be a strength, was a weakness early in the season. All of a sudden, they were actually playing better before Trent Brown came back. But now all of a sudden, they're the offensive line we thought they were going to be.
Now they're playing very well now. David Andrews has had his problems, and it's still a mystery to me why Michael Onwenu is not playing. Something must have happened there.
No, Joe, I think they think Ted Karras is just playing out of his head right now. He was supposed to be the guy that, kind of filled in, but they don't want to take him out of the spot.
Yeah, I don't. By the way, I give them a lot of credit for that. If you the alternative was to start moving guys around in the line, but I think they got to look at Onwenu at guard. They didn't like what they saw. Karras played better. Onwenu played better at right tackle. So now they have a really, really good swing tackle and a guy, I guess, Joe, who's coming in to play a blocking tight end from time to time.
Yeah, it's working very well. So Bobby, for me, the only one who's had problems is Andrews. And he's gone up against a couple of good defensive tackles. And so, that's probably his problem with all the penalties and such.
Now, what we're not talking about here at all, really, is Ramondre Stevens, who I think has just been outstanding this year.
Yeah, he really is. Nobody talked about the speed. They talked that he was a brute kind of runner. But I tell you something, he plays as fast as Damian Harris, at least what my eyes show me.
I think he has better moves than Harris, if you ask me. He seems his cutbacks seem to be better. He has that knack that only the special running backs have for kind of finding that space when it looks like there's nothing there.
Yeah, now we have to apologize to Uncle Joe. It's okay right now, Uncle Joe, that Sony Michelle that you drove him out of town.
I think we should apologize to Russ because the reason Brandon Bolden is on this team is that they were able to get rid of Sony. Now, who would you rather have, Sony or the Brandon Bolden that has shown up this year?
Nobody loves Brandon Bolden more than Russ Stevens.
Oh, by the way, actually, that's not true. I don't love Brandon Bolden. I just don't hate Brandon Bolden. That's a big difference.
I don't know.
A lot of haters here, Russ. Lot of haters.
I don't hate him.
You know, I got a question for you. If you had to get 2 yards, you had to get it for your life. Would you pick Sony Michel or Brandon Bolden?
Sony Michel.
Oh, I would pick Sony Michel, probably. Yeah.
They screwed up 1/3 down because they put in Russie's boys to get 1 yard, and of course he didn't do it. And then there was silence from Russ's phone, and we all tried to be kind.
Well, but
Brandon Bolden should not be in any important situations. At least give me that, Russ.
yeah, I don't want him. By the way, I'm with you. I don't want Brandon Bolden trying to pick up a 3rd and 2. I don't know why you do that when you have Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson on the team. Like, that doesn't make any sense as a play call to me.
Russ, I think that was
There's
our point though. But our offensive coordinator was calling his number on those plays, which that's what none of us understood really.
Okay, so are we going to have to apologize? I had apologized for Kiki Hernandez. Is N'Keal Harry actually showing a pulse right now? Apparently,
No.
he's one of the best blocking wide receivers statistically in football when he's out there.
Well, the book on him was always lack of effort. I mean, you know, I talked to people behind the scenes down there, and they couldn't believe this guy's. I think Scotty, you're the one that told me this actually behind the scenes, is that he wouldn't read the playbook. He gave up on plays where his number wasn't called. He just showed a complete lack of interest. That was the knock on him, I think. It wasn't his physical ability. It was his lack of intensity or effort.
But he's seeing the playing field right now, so obviously Bill feels like he's contributing.
Yeah, and at the expense of Kendrick Bourne, too.
Yeah, I mean,
this was coming along.
that I think those are game.
Yeah.
The game.
Yeah.
Russ, at least we're getting something for our money.
Here's the problem, though. We spent a 1st-round draft pick on a blocking wide receiver, which is about that's like spending a 4th-round draft pick on a kicker or a 5th-round draft pick on a punter. You can draft those guys in the 7th round. Okay.
I know. And instead of DJ Metcalf, I mean,
yeah. So there's no amount of blocking that N'Keal Harry can do unless they turn him into a right tackle that is going to convince me that it was even remotely worth that 1st-round pick at this point in time.
In hindsight, he looks like a 5th-round draft pick right now.
Yeah. Okay, I got a crazy spin for you. If DJ Metcalf had been drafted instead of N'Keal Harry, Tom Brady would still be on this team.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that marriage was over. I think no matter who else was in the building, is my guess.
You could argue that N'Keal Harry drove Tom Brady out of town. He just couldn't take it anymore, right?
Yeah, part of it probably.
You know, Belichick isn't looking so bad on this decision right now. I mean, for the next 10 years, if you had to pick Brady or our boy right now, you know, I'd probably take Mac Jones. You know, I mean, Brady's hanging up.
Even Tim has gone to the dark side.
First of all, Tom Brady's not playing till he's 55 years old, boys. Just so you know. That's not happening.
I can't see him playing after next year. I mean, I really don't.
I think if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I think Giselle pulls the plug on him.
Yeah, and we have Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So we had one crappy year with COVID, and we're on to the future. You know.
Look, Mac Jones has had more pressure on him. Would you agree? More pressure than any rookie player in the history of Boston sports. I feel like the spotlight's been on him and the criticism than any athlete I've ever remembered in this town. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, although I would say, you know, Larry Bird been drafted in the social media era, there would have been a lot of pressure on Larry Bird. Right? There was a lot of pressure on Larry Bird.
Jim Plunkett came into this town like the savior, like he was supposed to be the savior too.
Yeah.
And so did Bledsoe, but the Patriots didn't occupy the public like they do now.
Yeah, great point, Joe. Yeah. But all right, so do you agree in this social media era?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And the kid feels like the kid's handling it A+.
He certainly
Doing
seems
he's
like it.
doing a fine job. He's showing maturity, and you
Yeah.
know, he's under the spotlight. That's for sure.
Look, we got the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel-led team. Would you ever consider giving a first? Would you give a first-round pick right now to have Mike Vrabel as the next coach of the New England Patriots?
I don't know. Like,
You kidding me? Bob Kraft had him shipped out of town. Remember when he said that thing about Patriot Place? Next thing you know, he was in the
Kansas City.
City.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
I don't know. Like, do we know that look, Josh McDaniels washed out of his first pro, head coaching job, but so did Bill Belichick, and he came back and has been the best coach ever. Like, do we know that Vrabel is any better of a head coach than Josh McDaniels? Like,
No,
I don't
no.
know.
No, I'm just asking the question, but I think, look,
Yeah.
the fact is Josh McDaniels, I'm predicting it now, if he's not the coach of the Patriots next year, will be the coach of the Chicago Bears.
Can we go back to Vrabel for a second here? I would, if Belichick was on his way out, I don't think there's any sport in pro sports where the coach is more important than football. And from what I've seen of Vrabel, I would, if Belichick was on his way out, I would give up a first-round pick to get a Mike Vrabel as our head coach.
Yeah, look, they got a huge decision because Josh McDaniels will not be the offensive coordinator next year for the Patriots. It's a huge decision moving forward, and a lot of moving parts. What happens? Is Josh McDaniels the coach of the Patriots next year? Is he given a promise? Something's going to happen.
Yeah, you would think, like, I think your call of Chicago is a really good one. Like, McDaniels has shown he knows how to nurture a rookie quarterback, and they've invested a lot of equity in Justin Fields. And if I had a rookie quarterback and, that I really needed 3 years of really good development for and build an offense around, McDaniels would be among my first phone calls.
Yeah.
And he is supposedly fired already after the Thanksgiving game.
Yeah.
He's already got the news.
Oh, the Nagy's gone after the Thanksgiving game. Is that right? Yeah.
That's the reports today.
Apparently in the Chicago Bulls game last night, they were getting wiped out by the Pacers. They spent the second half chanting "Fire Nagy." So that's never good. So I wanted to talk, first of all, Cameron Mcgrone, the 5th-round pick out of Michigan, a linebacker, supposed to be a stud. They're really happy. The reason they picked him and got him so late was they knew it was going to be a redshirt year this year. However, he's practicing today, which clearly means that he's going to be ready to play this season, they think. Wow.
Well, they'll have 21 days, and if someone gets hurt, they have a warm body to put on the roster. They don't have to put on the roster for 21 days.
Scott, can you explain to me again where this kid came from?
The 5th-round pick in Michigan this year.
He would have been a 3rd-round pick, Tim.
Yeah. The gift that keeps giving is this draft. Look, the guy's supposed to be a stud. This would be a nice little addition at the end of the year when everybody's tired and all of a sudden you got this guy running around the field.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, his claim to fame is he's very athletic and speedy, maybe a little undersized. I mean, kind of nice to have him in offenses that have good tight ends, just a coverage linebacker, so you're not asking Van Noy and Hightower and Bentley to do it, and you can send him back there. It gives almost Adrian Phillips a little bit of a backup there.
Yeah. It's funny. Early on, Josh Uche was showing a little bit of something, then he got hurt and stuff. Kind of crazy, but Uche and Winovich, 2 studs we thought coming out of the draft. Right now, is there a place for them?
Well, Uche is on injured reserve. That's the only reason why he's not.
No, I know, but he was playing very poorly before he got hurt, too. He only had just glimmers of playing well.
Yeah.
He didn't play well. And also, the defense seems to have gotten better since Winovich and Uche have been off the field.
Yeah, Winovich was injured that whole time too, but he's just been activated. He doesn't really have a place on this team.
But this shows you how quickly things develop, guys. Those two are supposed to be big contributors to the defense when the year
Still might be. He was doing well before he got hurt, and he was starting. He started every game, before he got hurt.
That's the thing. We do have depth in the linebacking core with Collins, will become all of a sudden, you talked about the weakness, and it really is the defensive backs. Jalen Mills is not the guy we thought we were getting for all that money.
Well, hang on a second though. I think he's settled into the role that, that they wanted him to play. They're not asking him to do too much. And he gave up some plays early, but he's been playing better lately too.
But he's your second quarterback, right?
Yeah, he's your second quarterback. I think they also signed him to maybe play safety eventually too. So if the kid was, if Jones hadn't gone on IR, maybe you'd see him playing a little bit of general defensive back or safety even.
In the Adrian Phillips role, right?
You want to see something? The greatest attention to detail I've seen this week is they put a lefty punt. They brought a lefty punter in to a practice squad for Gunnar Olszewski because they're going to be seeing 2 left-footed punters in the next 2 weeks. Now that's attention to detail.
Yeah, he does that absolutely. And please, we got to look. Just having Gunnar back last week just shows you he does change the field. That guy, he's not going to remember his name in 5 years, but he's going to think it's Gunnar. He's going to think it's Runner, not Gunner. But I'm telling you something. That kid is valuable.
Well, he takes some knocks, doesn't he?
Oh my God.
What does he weigh about a buck 85?
Yeah, he could not be more than $1.08. No way.
It was tough when he was out watching all those punts just bounce down to the 4-yard line.
The Patriots by far have, like we talked about, the greatest point differential, but they also have the best special teams by far in the league. So Bill Belichick is smiling.
And that wasn't the case early on in the season. The special teams were atrocious. Remember, blocked punts and everything.
Yeah, now they've really hit.
They've really turned the corner there on special teams. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, they have been the best around.
Wow. So this is a big test of the Titans. We'll see where the Patriots are. If they answer the bell, they're 6-point favorites right now. So Vegas loves them. We love them, and we need the predictions. All right, we start with Uncle Joseph.
Well, I'm not so sure. Even without Henry and without their wideouts, the Titans Vrabel was pointing to this game. Last week, he gave everyone an extra week's rest, all the injured guys, because he thought he'd be able to beat Houston with his one hand tied behind his back. He was saving people for the Patriots. I think he's really put a lot on this game. So I'm going to say Patriots 17-16.
Oh, a fun one. All right, Russell.
I think they're gonna. I think the Patriots are going to be able to exploit the Titans in a number of areas, and their defense will clamp down. I see the Titans scoring 13 points, maybe the Patriots scoring 24, 27. I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
All right, so Patriots win. Timmy boy.
I have Patriots 28-24, and Mac Jones throws a pick 6, and that's 7 of the opponent's points.
The chosen one does something wrong. Timmy, what?
Do.
All right, Patriots win 31-7. This is the true coming out party. The Patriots have the best defense in football right now. They really are. They're loaded. The only thing that will affect them, like you guys said, is injuries. And the offense is just working on all cylinders, boys. And hey, Patriots fans, I want some noise, right? I feel like the Patriots fans have been kind of sitting on their hands. I know they haven't won, we haven't won many games there, but we need the Patriots to come out, the fans, big time. And also, just so you know, Patriots fans got to be pissed off. they turned the Colts game now to a Saturday night game at home.
Yeah.
Nobody's happy about that. Last thing you want to be doing on December 18th is be going to a Patriots game at 8:30.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
miss going down there for the night games. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's terrible.
In December too, it's cold down there.
Oh my God. Today is freezing like that. Oh my God. I'm not used to it. All right, boys. We talked about the Boston Red Sox. First of all, Erod said it was time for him to leave Boston. Why was it time, Erod? I don't understand.
Did you hear what else he said? He said, they asked him, did you consider the Red Sox? He said, I considered 18 and 77. I like 77 better than 18.
Yeah, right. Great point. That just shows that the Red Sox weren't offering him anything. They just gave him the qualifying offer so they'd get a second-round pick. They weren't interested in keeping him.
Certainly seems like that. Certainly seems like, it's going to be a secondary choice for them.
Yeah.
Let's see what they go spend that money on now.
Yeah, I think they considered him. I have the same opinion. I think the Red Sox had. He's just too much of he's on a roller coaster. He's up, he's down, he's up, he's out, he's in, he's out, he's up, he's down.
I think there was a concern that once you give him the $77 million, will he ever lift a weight, do a sit-up again?
Yeah. Without Cora to kind of prod him along, I don't know how well he's going to do there in Detroit.
Especially that he's got a big fat bank account.
They know him better than anybody. And the fact if they didn't make an offer, a multi-year offer, they know him better than the Tigers do. So we'll see. I mean, look, I actually root for the guy. I think he was a good pro. He was, he performed well. He came in as a young guy. He was kind of immature. Cora needed to get up into his grill, and they got plenty of value out of that guy.
I think that's a great example of how we've softened, Russ, as Boston sports fans. We used to just throw all our hatred to former Boston athletes. Now even we'll say, oh, that's nice to see Cam Newton play well, wish Erod good luck. That's what happens when you have 20 years of winning, right? All of a sudden you're like, a lot of these guys were involved with championships, so you have a special spot in your heart for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that.
The bargain in the contract news was that Wander Franco, that they got him for 12 years and at the max $220 million. It's like 180, 12 years, 180 something million.
Yeah.
That's a bargain for that kid.
Yeah, that does seem like he took the money, right?
Yeah, because, geez, with this huge rookie here, they might have had him cut. But even under any kind of negotiation, you should have got more than that.
That has great. Thank you for bringing that up. That has to hurt Devers in his negotiation because Wander Franco is a better player probably than Devers. Maybe the Red Sox save some money.
Yeah, I don't know. Just remember though, there's risk in this. Devers has proven it on the big stage for 4 years, has gotten through hardships, learned how to get his body ready, push through injury, has improved. Like Wander Franco the history's littered with plenty of phenom rookies who just kind of topped out. Who was the third baseman for Tampa, who everyone thought was going to be a Hall of Famer?
Gloria?
Yeah, I think he's fine. Right? He's a perfectly fine player, but he's not going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. No, that's a great example. Actually, the guy Clint Frazier for the Yankees, who I just thought was going to be a monster at third base, and like a Will Middlebrooks too. You thought these guys were going to be huge stars moving forward.
They designated him for assignment,
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's a guy I would take a flyer on. But that's a great point. Look, Franco's happy. He's got $200 million. I think that the Franco family can handle that. But yes, that's a good deal.
How many years on that Franco contract?
12. So it averages less than 20 million like about 15 million a year.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal.
That sounds really low. That sounds really low.
Yeah, a guy like Wander Franco, in the next 4 or 5 years could probably get $50 million a year.
Well, I think they had him under control for at least another 5 before he was a free agent.
So I'm saying once he gets to be a free agent, Joe, he'd be probably getting $40 to $50 million a year if he's that type of player that we think he is. Guys, my sources, John Hyman, says that the Red Sox are close to re-signing Carl Schwarber. What do you think?
Well, you're going to have a lot of, if you sign him and you keep JD, you're going to have a lot of big old corner infielder, outfielder types on this team. I mean, you'll have, if you think about it, you'll have Devers, Dahlbeck, Schwarber, JD Martinez.
I know. I know.
It's your softball team all over again.
Softball team.
And then during the season, you'll bring up Tristan Casas.
Yeah.
Big guy. I know. It's an interesting way to go about things, but you have to make up for it. And by some athletes, and I think second base has got to be an athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Schwarber's the odd man out. There's so many shortstops in the free agent pool. Once the big numbers go, there'll be guys that are quality guys like, say, I don't know, Trevor Story or Correa that aren't going to be getting the big bucks. You might be able to get them at a bargain.
I think he just likes that Schwarber, what Schwarber does on the field and off the field. I think Heimblum really likes him in the locker room.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, and we talked about, Timmy, you talked about it too. Having JD Martinez, the hosties, and batting sixth is something I love to see.
Oh, boy, doesn't it just add a depth to that lineup? You know, I mean, you think you've got through the hard part is JD Martinez in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, no,
I think it does something to the opposing pitcher's psyche a little bit. You know.
Yeah, you know, when you're talking about some really bad teams that the Red Sox have to play a lot of times, like the Baltimore Orioles, you have that kind of lineup and eating up those middle relievers, Russ, and the Red Sox are going to put up a ton of runs.
You would you'd bet on the Red Sox to be in the top 3 in Major League Baseball on offense with that team, for sure. I don't know what the defense is going to look like.
He's pretty cool last year.
It is a little scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where I think that maybe you go and keep Iglesias and you put him at second base. You can run out there and catch the ball in center, run out there and catch it or run.
Maybe. I just, plus, by the way, we have a corner outfielder playing shortstop too, right? So, I don't know. I actually don't believe, I would be surprised if they end up with a team that has Dahlbeck, Martinez, Schwarber, Devers, Bogarts.
In cases.
I just can't, I don't, it's not, I would be surprised. It's a softball team.
Oh, I agree. They can't play this.
Do you think Dahlbeck could get you a great shortstop prospect in the trade?
A prospect?
They don't want like a really good prospect, really good shortstop.
But we have a really good short. We have basically the top-rated shortstop prospect in the world in our system.
I know.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
You got to try to get young pitching. That's what he did in Tampa, and that's what he's going to do here. And the Pavettas and the Seabolds of the world. This is who he wants to get. Dahlbeck, he may be the guy, the odd man out. However, better be careful, because if he figures it out, you just gave up a guy who's going to hit 45 to 50 home runs if he figures it out.
Yep.
He's not striking out a million times.
Yeah, because when that guy makes contact, good things happen. Hearing rumors that Chris Taylor, the kind of Kiki Hernandez, it's like the super utility guy for the Dodgers 2 years ago. We signed him. Now it's Chris Taylor, and now they're thinking about signing him. I guess second base, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're basically signing a second Kike for the team, and putting that in Cora's hands and saying, I mean, I think Cora really enjoys the flexibility, right, of being able to move these guys around.
Almost Belichickian.
Center field much better than second base.
Yeah.
Right, but all of a sudden, again, the Schwarber thing would really, it wouldn't make any sense. But, it's maybe one of these things that Chaim Bloom's in love with him. And then we go to the next topic. Alex Cora, is he in love with Schwarber? Because he just got a 2-year extension. So Cora, the scumbag, is here for a while.
Schwarber does look good in the lineup. I like seeing him coming off the bat. So I can see where the affinity is with Cora and, for Schwarber.
But what do you guys think about Cora getting extended when they didn't need to?
They never like having managers towards the end of their contract. So look, I think he proved himself. The team, he coached really well last year. I mean, he managed that team very well. I think they have a lot of faith in him.
No one on the planet had the Red Sox going this far. I mean, he has to get a lot of credit for taking them as far as they can.
So where does put Jason Varitek?
Jason Varitek's ass is going to be on that bench for at least another 2 or 3 years.
What is this obsession with Jason Varitek?
No, so here's the honest thing. Like, you give Scotty some truth serum and ask him, would he frame Alex Cora for cheating again if it meant that Jason Varitek took the manager's seat? And Scott Kerman would be first in line to hatch the plan to frame it. Scotty Kerman would be in the runway underneath the stands, banging on a drum every time a guy is going to throw a slider.
Yeah. I plead the fifth.
Scott, what are you doing with an aluminum baseball bat and a garbage can back here? Nothing.
Don't worry. So, if Alex Cora has to have a colonoscopy or something, Jason Varitek, and is put under anesthesia, Jason Varitek will be the manager of Alex Cora's under surgery. I just want to mention.
The first. He's the vice general manager, the vice coach.
Boys, all right. Give me a surprise acquisition or trade right now. Things are developing. Players are starting to be signed. Give me one transaction that we're not thinking about right now.
I think there's a chance JD gets traded for like a third or a fourth starter or a really good reliever.
Wow. All right. Timmy, you got anything?
I'll just jump on the professor's prediction there. That sounds very enticing.
Joe, you got something?
Nothing that hasn't been said before. I can't see them, like Russ was saying, having the softball crew there. Bobby Dahlbeck has got to be a very enticing prospect to a lot of GMs. I think you could get a couple of good pitching prospects for him. Not just one, 2 solid prospects.
I think the guy who could go is Kiki Hernandez. I think, again, this is the whole Marcus Smart thing. I don't think this guy's value will ever be higher than it is right now. If they planned on keeping him after this year, I think there'd been some noise in that, and they'd be talking to him. I think Kiki Hernandez is the guy who could go, and he could get you some prospects.
And Taylor comes in and takes that spot that he
well,
that'd be a shocker, but Chaim will do anything, I think, right?
So you're saying that they look at Kiki Hernandez's recent spectacular performance as an aberration, and that's not really him.
Yeah, that's not really anybody, Timmy. I mean, the way.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, look, and he played slow. Look, I think you got the best you're going to get out of Kiki Hernandez, and whether he's a full-time player physically, I don't know. We saw that with the Brock Holt of the world. The moment you start playing them over 120 games a year, you see what happens to them. Kiki's a slightly
not a great guy either.
Yeah. All right, boys. David Ortiz, and maybe you've heard of him, is now up his first year in the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to say this right now. David Ortiz is my favorite baseball player of all time. If you don't put David Ortiz in the Hall of Fame the first year, why do you have the Hall of Fame?
Well, the only thing that could keep him out of those steroid accusations.
Yep.
Yep.
Him and A-Rod, both if they get tied together, that could spell trouble for them.
I mean, the steroids have kept plenty of guys with tremendous stats out. You know, better stats than him.
McGuire, Canseco,
All right, no, but Bagwell's in the Hall of Fame, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah, but his name, the thing that Ortiz has to deal with is the fact that his name showed up in that report, and Bagwell's name didn't show up in that report, right? So I don't know. I think he's going to get in because I think he's been very sort of almost like silently blessed by Major League Baseball. Manfred said a few things along the way. I think they've given Ortiz their blessing, and hopefully, the writers won't hold it against him. The other thing is the DH. By the way, there's still no DH, right? Is Edgar Martinez in there?
You're right.
Martinez is in.
He got in on the.
So that's two knocks against you right there. Some of these writers just won't put a DH in there, and some of them won't.
Those National League writers get all holier than thou about it.
Martinez is in. So, and first of all, and second of all, you can't have Andre Dawson in the Hall of Fame and not put Big Papi. That's ridiculous.
You're not. By the way, none of us are arguing with you. We're just saying,
man.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm praying for him to get in, but I would not be shocked if he didn't.
The first year.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Big Papi would get in.
Yeah. What did Martinez get in like in his 9th or 10th year or something like that, Edgar?
So we're going to have to revisit this whole steroid thing with Big Papi. Yep. I don't want to go down that road. No, he's not.
His name's sullied.
No, nobody's sullying Big Papi's name. That's it. I'm not going to have it. If anyone brings that up, just say, let's talk about Alex Cora and what a scumbag he is. Totally change the momentum on that one. All right. Before a little Hall of Fame talk, I mentioned Drew Bledsoe. Is Drew Bledsoe a Hall of Famer?
I don't think so.
He's got the numbers. He's got better numbers than 90% of the quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame. But he was on 3 different teams. I mean, he made the Patriots respectable. He made the Cowboys respectable.
His biggest problem is Tom Brady took a team that he was quarterbacking that same year and won a Super Bowl.
But they got to the Super Bowl on Bledsoe's arm, remember?
He threw a touchdown pass in a playoff game. Like that was it. Would if Drew Bledsoe, let's go back. How confident would you have been had Drew Bledsoe gotten the ball with 1:21 left at the 25-yard line that ball was going to end up?
No.
Well, he would have slung it. He would have slung it. Probably would gotten sacked or thrown a pick six.
I would have been with John Madden on that one.
No, but he definitely would have been going for it. I mean, look.
I mean, once they figured out that all you had to do was blitz him endlessly, it was kind of the end of Drew Bledsoe.
Who's a better quarterback? Because we know the other guy is getting into the Hall of Fame. Who's a better quarterback in his career, Eli Manning or Drew Bledsoe?
Well, I'll take Bledsoe.
He
doesn't have the two. He doesn't have the 2 rings,
He doesn't have the 2. I mean, that he's got Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I know. Bledsoe, I know. Well, Drew has a Super Bowl ring.
That was not his team.
Against juggernaut teams.
Who's the better quarterback?
Patriot teams.
I think Drew Bledsoe is, but that's not how it's done. There,
in 2007 alone, Eli gets in. Yeah. Somehow he pulled that off and beat an 18-0 team.
Thanks for reminding me. You had to say that.
I don't think Manning gets a sniff without those rings.
No.
Oh no, he's a 500 quarterback.
Drew Bledsoe is
500.
Drew Bledsoe is a Hall of Fame quarterback, guys. Gillette Stadium is a house that Drew built. Don't ever forget it.
By the way, again, he's a he seems like an absolutely terrific human being. Like, I love that guy. I think he's fantastic. But it is going to be really hard for him to get into the Hall of Fame without having quarterbacked the team to a Super Bowl.
Well, the grandstanders, we have a lot of power, Russ. That's what we're going to start right now. We're going to work now, and it starts today. We're starting our campaign for put Drew Bledsoe in there, and I want him to be teary-eyed when he gets up there with that yellow coat, and I want him to take off the yellow coat and give it to Uncle Joe.
There you go. And we know, we know a former governor and a Democratic presidential nominee. So
there we go. Yeah, that's right. We'll get that too. Right. All right, boys, go to the Boston Celtics, who are playing better. Things were going so well until this morning. Bill Russell tweeted out that he was so proud of Jason Tatum for putting up 37 points. I'm like, no. That's not what you were supposed to say. You were supposed to say, I'm proud of you for playing some defense.
And taking it to the hole instead of just settling for three-pointers.
Yeah, but he has been. I mean, the way he's played in his last 4 or 5 games is exactly the way you want Jason Tatum to play basketball. Exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
His problem is that
the hockey assists. It's not only 4 or 5 primary assists, but I bet he's got a dozen starters in hockey assists initiating the play. And that's, what I've really been impressed with the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, the problem is we see what he's capable of, and then we watch him not bring it out every night. That's the problem.
Well, he has brought it out consistently over the last week or two, and you hope that it continues because it unlocks the entire offense. When he starts drawing 2 or 3 guys towards him, it unlocks everything. It really does. It's amazing what a difference it makes.
So I think it's pretty clear after close to 20 games with the new coach that this is Jason Tatum's team. He's not going anywhere. Jaylen Brown will be going out the door before Jason Tatum does.
Probably.
That's very clear now.
Well, and here's another reason why you'd have to really take into consideration trading Tatum versus Brown or Brown versus Tatum is Jaylen Brown is injury prone. And they're not like freak injuries that Gordon Hayward kept having freak injuries, right? Jaylen Brown has like hamstrings, ankles, knees. Those are the things that are in the joints that become chronic. And you can take a 25-year-old guy and he can start walking around like a 32-year-old guy like that.
Jason Tatum, other than that COVID stint,
guy
showing up just about every night.
He's an Iron Man type. He really is.
Well, Timmy Boy has a man crush on Dennis Schroeder. He wants Jaylen Brown out of here so we can keep Schroeder. I just don't ever see that even being a consideration.
Just to be clear, like I think he said Marcus Smart. He didn't say Jaylen Brown, did he?
No, he did. He said Jaylen Brown.
Oh, Timmy.
I don't go with that. No.
Timmy's got it bad.
Timmy, speak for yourself.
I'm very impressed with Schroeder's performance this year. I mean, with Brown out and Schroeder in there, they seem to be a more effective team. And Schroeder's taking the shots that Brown would take, and I think he's doing a great job at it.
So just to be clear, it is going to be basically really difficult, if not impossible, for the Celtics to re-sign Schroeder because the most that the Celtics can offer Schroeder is the full mid-level exception, which is like $12 million. They can do that for 2 or 3 years. And if they do that, they hard cap themselves, which means they can't, there's a bunch of other things they wouldn't be able to do. If Schroeder has a nice year, he's not going to settle for $11 or $12 million for a year or two from the Celtics. He's going to want to go out and try to sign a contract for 4 years at $13 million a piece or $15 million a piece.
You might even be a $20 million a year guy.
Right. So I just, the Brad's going to have to earn his money at the deadline because if the Celtics have some mojo going, right, and Schroeder's a big part of that, you have to go into the offseason with the assumption that he's gone, he's walking for nothing, or do you trade him for a first-round draft pick at the deadline?
That's going to be a great question because the plan was, like you said, Russ, was to trade him at the deadline, try to get like a mid-1 pick and be very happy with that acquisition. But can you do that? Will Celtics fans allow that if all of a sudden
guys like Timmy Hoey are not going to be happy if they trade
He's
if
a
they trade his
favorite
pick and
all
get his
around.
shooter.
Well, I could see this team really going into the tank without that guy. He's a critical part of this team right now.
So right now, it foils Brad Stevens' plan because no way he does that. Not a chance. Because they're going to say, what, you got a 16th pick? Oh, good. So we can get another Romeo Langford or an Aaron Nesmith. We don't need these guys. We want to see how this season plays out.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, the league looks pretty wide open right now. I mean, LA's in the tank. I mean, God knows where the Nets are going to go. I mean, they might have a shot.
Yeah, Timmy's right. I mean, he's looked really good, and that team functions well. He plays actually pretty well with Smart. You know, you're a better team with him, but you're also gonna not like it if you top out at the second round of the playoffs, and a guy who you could have gotten a first round pick for walks. You're gonna feel like a dope.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking like a lottery type of pick, but nobody.
You're not getting a lottery pick for that guy.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lottery pick for him.
Yeah, he's going to be a rental.
He's a rental.
Yeah, he's gone no matter what.
A lottery pick was if there was a team in contention who had a draft pick from another team that was a lottery pick.
Maybe.
I don't know if that's even.
I don't even. He's a rental. You're renting that guy for 2.5 months. Just it's not going to happen.
He can't give up
No matter what.
lottery pick.
Yeah.
He's making himself a lot of money right now the way he's playing.
He is.
Well, he lost so much coming here. That's for sure. I'd fire that agent, whoever he was.
So apparently the rumor is that he turned down an $84 million deal from
Yep.
right? Is that right, Joe?
His agent turned it down.
Oh,
And that put him in this hole, and now he's playing for only $6 million this year, when he could have had $84 million guaranteed. That's $21 million a year.
if Erod was in that position, we know what he would have done.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Erod can do the math. That's for sure.
Al Horford has played out of his head.
Yeah.
Schroeder's played out of his head. Richardson's now starting to play well. Cantor's starting to contribute. These are moves that Brad Stevens made that Danny Ainge, who at times had a better team, refused to do.
Al Horford was the best guy on the court against the Lakers. He was out. I tell you, the guy works his butt off out there. I mean, he's always in motion and doing something that helps the team.
He does things smart. He's in the right place at the right time, working very efficiently, not killing himself running up and down the court. He knows where to be. Savvy veteran.
Yeah, I think he's also just testament to. I think he regretted not re-signing that with the Celtics 10 games into his Philadelphia career, and this is a new lease on life for him. I think he really likes being here and being in the position that he's in, and he's playing with like a lot of joy and a lot of intensity and wisdom. And I mean, he's been worth the money. He's got a max contract, and he's worth every penny of it so far.
Don't we have from like the Tatums and the Browns of the world? He's a well-respected guy on that team.
Yeah.
Don't we have to relearn how we root for our teams now with the idea is, other than the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are kind of the uber team in the NHL, there's parity in sports like we've never seen before. There are no great teams. The Atlanta Braves can win it. The Milwaukee Bucks can win it. So the Red Sox had a chance to win it. It feels like we're thinking now the Celtics and the Bruins don't have a shot. The Patriots, all of a sudden, if they get hot in this kind of environment in the sports world, you can win a title.
Yeah,
we're looking, at the NBA especially, where you thought, if you didn't have those three megastars on your team, you didn't have a chance. The Bucks kind of proved everybody wrong with that last year.
Yeah, look, the Celtics' big need, if they're going to really compete, I think they've got the 6th or 7th worst 3-point percentage in the NBA. you can't, it's impossible to overcome that and to get through a playoff series without being able to do that. So either with Brown coming back and Tatum heating up and maybe Pritchard gets back on or Neesmith or something, but probably if you're Brad and you think you have a shot, Scotty, you got to take a couple of these guys, consolidate them and trade for a real shooter.
Yeah. And a guy like Grant Williams may have some trade value all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He's playing a lot better this year.
I mean, by the way, he's leading the team in 3-point percentage.
I know.
He is.
I know. Tatum is not going to shoot 30% from three for the rest of the year, though.
Well, how about this kid Hauser? Do we have what's the kid from Miami, the local kid from that lit it up and got a big contract that killed us in the playoffs a couple of years ago?
Duncan Robinson.
Robinson, yeah. So this kid Hauser is supposed to be a gunner just like him.
Yeah. The problem is like he gets out on the court, they're just going to hammer him defensively. Just hammer him. And then, by the way, the Celtics are 8-3 in their last 11 games for one reason, and that's their defense.
Yeah, number one.
They've been the best defensive team in the NBA for the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, the only team that scored over 100 was the Lakers, and that was because they would give the Lakers who would make it a score.
Right.
And that shows you what we already knew. When the Celtics, who are a talented team, give an effort, and we see it sometimes in fourth quarters when they get wiped out and all of a sudden they can erase the lead, they can go places. And it's a matter of whether Udoka can get that effort each night.
Yep.
All right, we finish up with the Bruins, boys. Bruins are just kind of 500, kind of just going along.
They look like they were on a roll, and then they get smoked,
At Calgary, they lose 4-0.
And to the goalie that they gave up for a third or fourth round pick, Tim?
Yeah, they look great.
Oh, Tim froze there.
I thought that night and to do pretty well, if you ask me. Little weak on the defense, kind of the depth wise, but we could use boy Tuca back in the net.
And we're really limited on how we could acquire players now. I mean, we kind of blew our load keeping the Taylor Halls of the world. I mean, this roster seems to be the one that's going to have to take you places.
I think it's got the potential to do it. They just got to stop playing consistently every night. That's the sign of a great hockey team is you go out and you do it every night. I mean, just like in all the sports. You just have to bring it every night.
All right, I finished with this final question, and I'm going to hold you to it. We'll start with Uncle Joe. Is Tuca coming back?
Yes.
Wow.
Some way. And I don't know why they gave $5 million a year to this Linus character. He hasn't been very good. And I think if either Linus or Swayman gets hurt, or for some reason Swayman has to go back, they'll bring Tuca off the Woodland golf course.
All right, Timmy, is Tuca coming back your favorite player?
I think he is coming back.
Wow.
I think you'll see him in the net in February, late January, February.
Professor?
I think it's a really good shot. Neither of these guys has stood out so much that you could say, oh, we're better off without him, right? And if good goaltending could be the difference between a good playoff run and not, like they're going for it. This team is aging. I mean, you only going to have Bergeron around for another 2 or 3 years tops. Yeah.
All right. The answer is Tuca's coming back, and so is David Krejci, just to torture me.
You keep saying that.
Krejci's coming back. You watch. I know. I could feel it.
Well, if he plays like he did with Paul last year, I'll take him back.
That's what he's going to do. Yeah, he's perfect for the playoffs because he's just terrible in the regular season. I can't take it anymore. All right, so that's our show for tonight. First of all, want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I give thanks every week that I get to do this show with you fellas. I want to thank Corbin, of course, for all his help all year round. And, of course, Handsome Todd, we always appreciate all his hard work. want to thank you all for watching our show. We'll be back next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.